set out to become famous. And then after I realized I was getting some fame, I go, I not only want to be famous, I want to be a legend.
Yeah.
I go, why not? I said, because I figured with fame comes fortune. And if the fortune doesn't come, at least leave a legacy.
It's still hard to believe Indian Larry is gone, but without question, he left behind an unbelievable legacy. Not only in the bikes and images he left us, but the crew of friends who continue to march at their Brooklyn studio. Paul, Keino, and Jhon picked up the S&S challenge Larry had accepted just after his last year in Sturgis. Somehow they've managed to gel together as a team and rock on producing their own psychotically beautiful designs. Let's see what these wizards have in store for S&S.
The designs that he had in mind and the geometry that he wanted to build into this project, we've definitely retained. And with some of our ideas along the way, we're trying to follow through on the project that he had in mind when he first heard about the engine coming out. Very sort of race-oriented, very pared-down chassis, and really built to cradle just the power plant and very little else, So we've still got some detailing and some finishing, touches to do to it, and a little bit of adjustment on the geometry, and then we're going to go from there and just carry that forward. So that's where we're at. So we've got a handful of things to still do to this, and then build out everything else.
Construction gets underway in earnest. Paul and Keino attack the frame, get the engine in position, and start figuring out the tranny configuration and whether to use a chain or a belt. They decide on a chain. Paul bends tubing the old-fashioned way. He burns it. Superheating the tubing until it's flexible, Paul bends the piece around a shaped block of wood. Having decided on a chain, they realize some tranny adjustments are in order.
I think we might want to push the tranny back in a little bit. Of course, what we're talking about is the fact that he had originally set this up for a belt and had decided he wasn't going to run belts anymore, final drive belts, to make all this make sense of what we're talking about. So he was going to be switching this back to a chain drive anyway, which is what we're doing now, because there was a lot more offset if you were to be running a belt final drive. So everything's going back to chains.
Paul and Keino are meticulous craftsmen. They approach every piece on a bike as a sculpture. Its own piece of art, molding, shaping, perfecting each piece down to the joints and screws. The tranny goes in without a hitch. Everything lines up to perfection, and it's time to move on.
With the way that he set up the backbone, the neck's a little bit lower to the ground, and he wanted something that was really kind of slung down right over the top of the motor, creating the tightest package that he could, for a bike. And we're going to move the controls back to mid-sets, so it's a little bit of a tighter riding position, which is another thing that he had wanted to do. And we're going to use super bars or lower bars than usual, and just keep kind of the whole profile real compact. Yeah, the S&S Old School Shovelhead Tour.
Paul starts the design for the oil tank. Beginning with a cardboard cutout, the general size and shape gets resolved. Having another set of eyes to bounce off is a great asset.
You want to take a look at this shaping a second? See what you think? I've kind of got extra still down here that we can start to shape it up from there. You seeing a line? You seeing a line that you like?
Seems a little too big for me. Yeah, why don't you let me hold it up.
The way that, look at the way that it relates to the starter housing over here. Yeah. Yeah, it's a little heavy. Flush to the.
Jhon customizes the legs of an old Sportster.
Yeah, come aboard. Yeah, we cut down the legs of early Sportster front end, and Jhon was just finishing trimming out the final couple of ribs here for the dust seal. Just to eliminate all that. Just make this color. Now Robert's gonna kill us because of the oil tank, because he's gonna have more to paint. He's already freaking out.
Jhon, my polisher, and Jhon took my hub for the front wheel and for polish, and he was supposed to come by today, but somehow changed the plan, and he's gonna come in tomorrow afternoon with my hub for front wheel. It is what it is.
A prime example of the degree of detail they insist on, Keino hand sculpts the edges of the triple tree to give it a more organic look. Meanwhile, Paul starts packing out the oil tank. Keino and Jhon figure which legs the springs go in.
Otherwise, if you raise the bike, this goes down. The bottom here. Yeah, so you gotta have spring over here.
Keino discovers his grinder is shot.
Yours? Huh? Is this yours? Yeah. Yours is awful. Why is that? Because yours is burnt out, man. Yours is shot. Yeah.
Paul is making great progress on the oil bath. It starts to take on shape, and the build just seems to be rocking ahead, full steam. The front end starts going together. It's always exciting to see it begin to look like a bike. The handlebars go on, and the first sit on the new Camel feels real good. A few handlebar adjustments and a shift to imaginary gears, and the first ride goes flawlessly.
Looks like a motorcycle, right?
You're saying, where's the A-Banger, right?
He's gonna be one of those like Schwinn-looking push rod, rock arms. You know, they've done all that new stuff. They took that new technology to old style motor. So being a motorhead is so curious to take it apart, what's inside, but we're not allowed to take it apart. I'm gonna work on the gas tank.
take a set of fat bobs and axe them, make them one little teardrop tank out of these.
The halves become a whole and satisfy their maker. Now it's time for a first look on the bike. It looks different with your head twisted to the side.
That's probably as far as we can go right there. We really need to bring it back. Can you scoot over a little bit?
Making adjustments in his mind, Keino draws in the air. It's a bouncing baby motorcycle. After giving it a sit, Paul wants to roll it out and take a look.
Cut these in a little bit. I want to roll it outside where we can step back and see it.
The seal of approval from Keino. 24 hours and nobody's gone home. We're working on a marathon build.
It's not what you say that counts, it's whether you can count on what you say. 'Cause it's a drag to be by yourself if you hate the company.
Chico was telling me that he's gonna build more like a digger style, like low, little bit long in the front and rake that little bit. You know, he was bragging about it, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna build cool some stuff.
Good. Yeah, we got a good amount of work done.
A new set of 24 hour starts and the tension is a little high. Paul and Keino had devised a nifty new gear assembly that apparently the gear guy who's had it tells him he can't accomplish it. Now they're out of time and definitely out of patience.
The gear guys in this area, even though the Jersey and Long Island, just worth a shot to call them up. This is what we're working on. Can you help us out?
So did you look up at what did you look for gear guys in the yellow pages?
The internet, yeah.
Oh, on the internet?
Google the gears.
Because it's not rocket science, you know what I mean? It's just numbers.
Just number ratio.
Because if we could,
dimension.
if we could still do that,
And
that'd be great.
This guy over there, he's saying that poly gears they are metric.
That Harley gears are metric.
So that's
Well, the
why.
thing is, it doesn't even matter because we're doing a whole separate set of gears.
I know.
So it's anyway.
The first, that's throwing him out the first place. It's metric. I can't do it.
It's like we gave him too much information. So what we're talking about is trying to run the magneto through the generator hole. And it's just a matter of making up a gear set that drives the ignition through a series of gears up out of the generator hole. And the guy that we had working on it said that he could do it, and then it turns out he couldn't figure it out. And now we're screwed because we're out of a set of gears and out of time. And it was something that was going to be really cool. Yeah. I was going to pick up all the gear information from the stupid gear guy that couldn't figure it out. So now we got to start over if we can do it at all to try to get this the generator-driven magneto like we were going to do, and relying on this guy to come through. Then he just gets on the phone, he's screaming at Keino, saying how he told him that he didn't know how to do it and all this kind of like before. And the whole time he's saying that he knows how to do it. He knows we don't know what we're talking about. And then finally realizes that he has no idea how to do it. He can't figure out the ratios. So that's the big problem right now, because that was something that was going to be good. Yeah. So if we can still get somebody to do it like in a day, that knows what the hell we're talking about. Not yet. James is really excited about that too. He was, because when everybody these days runs a generator case with alternators, they just either, plug an oil filter into there or just block it off, and it's meaningless. It's like, what's the point of having the whole generator case? And this was cool because it served a purpose.
Jhon, what's going on? Is everything okay down there?
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure it out.
Trying to figure what out?
Where is it?
What? Jhon. Try to figure what? Could they don't know what to do. Well, what's the story?
What, are they still trying to figure it out?
Yeah, John's trying to figure it out with them.
What is he saying? That he's
He said, just give me a few minutes. We're trying to figure it out.
and that they'll cut the gears while he waits.
No, he kept saying, just give me a few minutes. Give me a few minutes.
All right, give him a few minutes. What's happening here is we got the 6-speed trans from Baker, and Kendall Johnson, along with Baker, had developed a kill switch mechanism so that you could speed shift through the gears, but it was only set up for a 5-speed. And since we really like running these 6 and 4s, we talked to Baker, and they developed the shift drum that's made to work with this kill switch shifting mechanism that Kendall developed. So what it does is, in between each gear, there's a divot ground in the shift drum that lets a typical neutral safety switch drop down into that divot. So in between each gear, since we run magnetos, it'll kill the mag. It'll kill the ignition system for like a split second. And that allows you to speed shift through the gears without using the clutch. So Bert and Repo and the guys at Baker were good enough to develop a one-off mechanism for the 6 speeds like that, so that we could run it for this bike.
John's back from the gear guy, and the news is not so good.
Two shafts. This turns once, for this to turn once.
Okay.
Okay, the distance between these two shafts is what dictates the pitch ratio. So that pitch ratio can't be attained. Even that's what we're trying to work on, a helix gear, like the one in the back.
Yeah.
To see if that ratio could be gotten, because you see this gear, see that they're both 10 teeth, but they're different diameters.
Right.
But they turn 1 to 1.
Right.
So to see if we could get that ratio is what we're trying to do, but you can't. Because that ratio is dictated by the distance between here and the pitch diameter the pitch of the gears between them. So I was trying to see even if we could shave this out enough to get to that ratio, but just not enough room. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Well, let's move on to some other shit finally.
Time to get on with the show and push on. The team dives back in, a little disappointed, but undaunted.
More complicated than we thought it would. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we just didn't put the time into it, allow enough time for experimentation. If I'm wrong about the gears, you know.
Wheel, a critical and complex job. Keino gets it together in good time. The chrome back from the polish puts a sparkle in everyone's eyes. The oil bag looks perfect.
It's like we're trying to be so kind of clean and slick with this build, you know? It's almost coming out too simple.
Yeah, finally got it. You know, I got that CD.
A bit of fine-tuning on the spokes, and the wheel is good to go. The front end comes together smoothly. Jhon fills the wells with fluid despite a backwards measuring device.
Put the numbers on the wrong side.
Look at the snow.
There it is.
Did you leave the truck? You're gonna stay inside or check out the new dope-ass trailer. Oh, look at the. Come here. Hey, question cross with the snow on it. Oh, that is killer, man.
The crew takes a break to check out the new trailer sent to them by H&H Trailer. Everyone is blown away by the new toy and the snow.
Larry would have been flipping out.
It was a very magical night, and somehow it felt like Larry was smiling from above. Paul gives the bars and the overall feel of the bike the once-over, and finds it progressing well. Looks good, feels good.
Yeah. This is perfect.
Tiny.
Then the painted gas tank arrives, and it looks fantastic. It's flawless, and it puts a perma-grin on everyone's face.
Oh, nice.
I got the fender.
Huh?
That jumps out of you.
That's really cool.
Zarathustras Revenge. That's the name of the bike.
The fender shines like a mirror. Awesome. It really lifts the spirits of some tired people about 36 hours into this day. Back to work. Time to put that Silver Flake beauty on the bike.
Zarathustra was the name of a philosopher that Larry used to follow and read. That was a philosopher of Zoroastrianism.
だからタンクシフトにしてこうシフトでこうバンバンバンと入れるみたいな。I'm talking to Chica. Well, I just told him that I saw his bike on the video. Does Jesse Rook didn't have a transmission in primary or nothing?
Now it's down to the details, which is where these guys really shine. Paul polishes up the question cross for the front of the bike. It's getting late again as the marathon continues past 36 hours. Everything's getting a little fuzzy about now, but there's still a long way to go. Meanwhile, Larry keeps a watchful eye.
You've been thinking about control sets? Like the look of them?
Paul cranks up on what he's famous for, a one-of-a-kind custom leather seat. Meanwhile, Keino's onto the controls, doing a bit of hot metal bending himself. The seat gets drawn and then cut out of sheet metal. The polisher shows up with parts polished with a mirror-like
We're using that
finish.
center star.
Fantastic, yeah.
So that's going to be beautiful, right?
Yeah. This is stainless.
Yep.
This is stainless. This is the aluminum.
Yep.
And then this is steel. This is plain steel that we polished.
Your trip to the gym, carrying us around. Your bicuspids and your biceps with these. We have a misalignment, misunderstanding and a misalignment here. So we'll have to address that immediately.
It's pointy.
Paul tries out the finished seat for him. He only uses high-grade special industrial neoprene, no cheap carpet pad. Keino attacks the primary assembly, and slowly, this bike is taking shape.
No?
The clutch assembly gets Keino's attention. The handle for the clutch comes to life. The pipes begin to take shape. Paul tries out the new seat, and it looks to be a hot design. Actually, there was a short in the battery connections, and Keino finds out firsthand the battery's hot.
Ready for me to do what? Set of pipes?
Yeah, there's like 3 seams.
I'll take them home.
Take them home with you. What are you going to do them in your...
No, I got that acetylene powered thing. I can light it with a match. Come here, I'll show you.
No show and tell, Ed. Ed, we gotta run this bike tonight.
Gotta make practice. Use this. A Lank blowtorch. Huh? Portable. You can do this on the bus, mass transit. Well, 1,300 degrees. It's alcohol burning funny torch. Like that.
Nitromethane.
Don't make these anymore.
I'll be back.
Eddie takes a break, which makes Paul less than comfortable, while our ace cameraman, Michael Zoyas, tightens down the bike. Always the moment of truth. It looks like not such an easy fix.
All right, well, in that case, we'll eat breakfast first.
The timing seems on the money. Maybe it's time for a ride. And Keino gets on to fire it up. Close, but no cigar. Paul tries to turn it over, but it's being elusive. So it's back to the shop. The victory dance denied, at least for the moment.
Let's push it in,
Queen. Back up.
So the gear, right? The gear, the jack shaft jumps out. The gear engagement usually has a leading edge instead of the flat surface. It's the leading edge that helps the gear kicks in. But this particular one doesn't. It's just flat gear.
Finally, after 48 hours straight through, the first ride. But there seems to be a problem with the clutch.
It's warming up. I mean, did you notice I was pulling away and it was just like feathering through. It wasn't hooking up at all.
That's what happened. You forget. When you stay up at 48 hours.
But it runs great. It pulls strong, you know? Yeah, it feels really good. It's just, if we can get it to, if we can get it shifted, it'll be a sweet ride.
Once again, Keino has a solution to offer up.
Now, what do you mean? Just like forget this and just bring it over and do a vertical rod? We could do that. That could be
So
cool.
that's like, what, 10 inches over here?
Yeah.
2 or 3 inches?
Right. Yeah, what we're thinking about doing is just laying the whole shifter down because everything's so tight, you can reach it. It's all right there. But if we lay this down, we can just use a little tail piece right past the pivot point, and we compound the leverage a lot more. So then when it transfers down to the shift arm on the tranny, it'll just shift a lot smoother.
Oh, it's 48, no, 50 hours.
Finally, the kinks are worked out of the clutch and Paul gets the first sweet ride.
So everything worked out great. I was telling Keino, back here I hit the switch that arms the kill switch in the tranny so you can speed shift, and it worked great. You just slam the gears and it kills the ignition for like a split second between gears, and you can just slam through them without even touching the clutch. It worked awesome. And just slamming the gears, the front wheel was just looking to lift. And you know, I mean, I'm not actually hammering it. I mean, it's a brand new motor. Yeah, but just rolling it on and popping it, it's got a lot of power there. Yeah. You can really tell, man.
So after 50 long hours, the guys, they're on their way to bed. And the bike, it's on its way to Daytona.
See you in Daytona.
I'm going to do this as long as I possibly can, build bikes and ride until I really can't do it anymore.
Well, that's our pack.
And
Me
then-
too.
And
Me
then
too, man.
hopefully you go to sleep that night and you don't
Yeah.
wake up, man.
Well, you know what happens?
After that's going to be a sad day.
Is our work here done?
We're done now.
We're done.
Thank you, guys.